Hello and welcome to the interview on France 24. I'm Andrea Sankey in Paris. With the war between Israel and Hamas in its third week, where does the dream of a two-state solution stand now? As Israeli military operations intensify, even a number of moderate voices have been pushed to outrage. Tonight I'll be asking the president of Quds University and former senior Fatah figure Sari Nusseibeh what he thinks of the prospects for peace now that hundreds are dead and hatred has been heightened. Sari Nusseibeh joins me now via satellite from Jerusalem. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Before we get into the actual peace prospects, I'd just like to get your personal sentiment on what's actually happened so far. Are you among those outraged by Israel's actions, or do you see them as justified by Hamas rocket attacks?
No, I am outraged. I don't believe you'll find a single Palestinian that's not outraged by what's happening. We all see it as basically it's criminal. It's a crime against humanity. It's out of all proportions. I'm not saying, of course, that the rockets that the Hamas was throwing on Israel or against Israel should have continued. I think, clearly that they should not have continued, and we should have found another way to reach a conclusion, a settlement, if you like. But the reaction, Israel's reaction, is beyond all proportions. And in any case, I don't think it's going to lead anywhere. It's going simply to increase the resistance to Israel, to occupation, but not just to occupation, I mean also to Israel. Mm-hmm. And therefore, I believe it's a major mistake in addition to its being a crime.
Have you had any dialogue with your Israeli counterparts about this?
Well, to tell you the truth, I've been so depressed by the scenes I've been seeing that I've stayed away from contacts or talks with Israeli friends and colleagues. But of course, I still believe that the essential conflict or fight is between people, whether they're Israelis or Palestinians or whatever you have, who believe in human values and those who do not. And unfortunately, what we're witnessing today is the supremacy, the hegemony, if you like, of those for whom human values are not supreme, for those for whom force is supreme, and basically trying to impose their own will through force. But I hope the day will come when once again we'll be able to talk. But I don't know what kind of political solution or situation will arise in those circumstances. I certainly don't believe that the chances for coming back to negotiate along the same tracks like we've been doing for the last 15 years is going to do any good or be of any use. I think, something has changed, radically changed. It's going to have an impact throughout the Arab world, I think. It's not going to stop when the fighting stops. It's going to have reverberations, and one of the unfortunate reverberations will be that we will have to look again, anew, at what kind of binational reality we will have before us and how we can find a way to live together or in conflict with each other, to contain it perhaps. But certainly the chances for a proper peace, a two-state peace at this moment, look very dead to me.
Okay, because it's true. I mean, just a few months ago, before this conflict even started, you said that we were running out of time for a two-state solution. So now is the door closed completely?
I believe the door is closed, objectively speaking. I think it's very hard. It's going to be extremely hard to find anybody on the Palestinian side, indeed even in the Arab or Muslim world, ready today to sit down and to be convinced that negotiations will get us anywhere, that negotiations with Israel is going to be of any use. I think that what this campaign, what this war has created is a kind of hatred, especially among or within the new generation, which it's going to take generations to try and overcome. It's been very hard to try and get the two peoples to sit down and start talking to each other. It was hard enough back in the 80s and 90s. I think after this and the failure of the peace talks over the past 15 years, it's going to be very hard indeed. And I think certainly on the Palestinian side, the very credibility of the Palestinian leadership, and I include myself when I say this, which has been propounding peace talks with Israel, I believe has lost all relevance. I think if you like, the peace camp within the Palestinian community, if not in the entire Arab world, has, as a result of this, lost all credibility and legitimacy.
That's very sad to hear. It was interesting, though, to hear you mention the impact, resounding impact you think this is having throughout the Arab world. But I'm wondering what you think the Arab world will actually do in response to this. What will they do for the Palestinian people, if anything? They've been criticized for not coming to the aid of Palestinians many times before. Do you think it will be different this time?
Well, I don't think, of course, that anything will happen, in any kind of real time in days or weeks to come. But what I'm saying is that this war on Gaza is going to create fundamental, radical changes throughout the Arab world. And I believe that the Arab people throughout the Arab world are going to turn against their own governments. It's not going to be as it was before the war. It's going to be totally different. I think the political map has been changed, and it's been changed to the worse, in my opinion, in the sense that it's going to make resolution between the two peoples far more difficult. And by the way, I want to say, in a sense, it's been totally counterproductive to Israel and to the entire Zionist project, namely the project of creating Israel in the Middle East, trying to make a peace between Israel and the rest of the Arab world. I think this war against Gaza has basically killed those chances. And, what we're looking at now in the future is something totally unpredictable. Okay, we hope it can be contained.
So do you laugh at Israel when they say, we need to do this, we need to fulfill this operation for our own security? Is that just a joke in your terms?
No, I don't think the Israelis joke. I think that they look at things seriously. I don't want to underestimate the need that they have, the security need, the concerns they have. I don't discount them at all, and I shouldn't, and I don't think anybody should. But on the other hand, one should look also, besides looking at those concerns, at whether their reaction is actually the right one to undertake. One should look at the causes that led to the throwing of the rocks. I mean, if you think about it, people now are talking about the tunnels and their illegitimacy. But if you ask yourself the question, well, why did the tunnels come about anyway in the first place? And you can only come out to the answer that the tunnels were created because Gaza was put under siege. And if you ask yourself the question, well, why was Gaza put under siege? The only answer is because, Hamas got elected and assumed power in Gaza. And so everybody, including the entire international community, which did not see eye to eye with Hamas, decided that Hamas should be starved to death. And with Hamas, of course, the entire people of Gaza. And with the entire people of Gaza, therefore, the Palestinian people, we cannot divide. People are wrong to divide between, one segment of the Palestinian population and another. We are all one people. If you kill children in Gaza, it's like having my own children being killed. If I see pictures of old women, men, and so on being killed or whatever, I see my own people.
Sorry, you must feel that Hamas does bear some of the blame in this conflict, do you not?
Well, I believe that I don't personally agree with the Hamas ideology. And in many ways, I blame a lot of parties for a lot of things. But I think there is something called proportionality. And there's something called limitation to what you can do. I mean, look, Hamas has been throwing rockets. I don't think they should have been throwing rockets. I believe that we should have tried to come to some kind of agreement. And I think it was probably possible to reach an agreement in the past few years. But as against this, what is happening in return, what is happening as a result, is something totally out of the it's another world. It's totally a different framework. I think that the Hamas rockets should have been stopped, but I believe something else should have been tried in order to stop them, and certainly not the campaign, the war by an entire state with an entire army against a population, a people in a tiny piece of land. Basically, all the casualties we're seeing, most of them are women and children. How can you accept that? I mean, really, it is totally unacceptable.
Let me ask you, though, where you think this conflict leaves your Fatah faction and the Palestinian Authority. Has it driven Palestinians closer to your moderation, or has it only served to embolden Hamas?
No, moderation, as it is called, so-called, is actually being made irrelevant in the context of a raging war between Israel and Hamas. Basically, moderates, including, by the way, the Palestinian Authority, led by Abu Mazen, are looked upon as being totally irrelevant. And I include myself in this circle. Irrelevant in the sense that we're totally in a different planet. The Palestinian people, the Arab people, the entire Muslim world is in, one place, and the Palestinian so-called moderate leadership, the Palestinian Authority, is in another place. It's been made totally irrelevant. I mean, look at, for instance, the ridiculous situation in which we find ourselves as a Palestinian Authority, where we are making, for instance, statements as to whether or not we should accept the Security Council, the recent Security Council resolution. We are making such statements that we will accept or we will not accept, when in fact it is not our business either to accept or not accept, because we're not on the field. We're not in power. So in that sense, our authority has become or been made irrelevant. And I think the philosophy of peace, unfortunately, for now, has been made irrelevant. And, if you think about Fatah itself, I think Fatah is recalculating, thinking again, wondering about what new strategies to think about. I'm not saying that if peace falls through, like it seems to be doing, that then the alternative is war and military violence. But I think, it's very serious. I don't know exactly what the outcome is going to be, but it's going to be radically different.
Okay, very quickly, we just have a few seconds left. Are you disappointed in general in the response of the international community to what's happening in Gaza?
Yes, I'm totally disappointed in the response to Gaza. I'm totally disappointed in the response of the international community to the occupation by Israel of the Palestinians and of Palestinian lands since 1967. I think the international community has not done enough, and it is certainly to blame for not doing enough and for not being there to prevent the massacres taking place.
Okay, Sari Nusseibeh, very unfortunately, we are completely out of time for this edition of the interview. I'd like to thank you so much for joining us from Jerusalem.